on the screen.
Okay.
So maybe soon start the show.
Okay.
And we are live now.
So Tanvi, I can start, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have this first global cryptocurrency conference, and I think it's a very appropriate time to get into this technology space. And Business World thought about doing it for quite some time, and finally we have come up with these two panels in today evening. And very distinguished panel we have. Panel one is we have Arvind Nair, a senior advocate from Delhi High Court and Supreme Court of India, who is somebody who has been working on the technology space. Pratibha Jain, who is a partner and heads Nishit Desai Delhi, and she is her firm is one of the pioneer firm in technology and other life sciences space. Ajit Mishra is also here, and Ajit Mishra is presently a solicitor in the United Kingdom, and he regularly advises on e-gaming, e-sports, as well as cryptocurrency, and he has been doing some assignments on blockchain. Apurva Bose, who has been working on technology space, she's a human rights lawyer as well, based in Geneva, and I am somebody who is trying to assemble this entire distinguished panel and talk to them, decode this entire thing. I'll try to make it simple because we have an audience which is more of business and less of law. But we have a distinguished panel of lawyers first, then the business panel where we have founders of Vajirax and Posagora founder Serge is there. So what I'll suggest that we need to first understand what is this cryptocurrency. And the moment you say currency, the word comes as if it's some kind of coin or some kind of actual coin. But this is a virtual coin you're talking about. You're talking about a virtual currency. And this is very democratic in its nature. That's what my limited understanding about cryptocurrency is. Whatever work we have done in last 6 to 8 months, I realized that this is something which is going to get propelled in next months, not even in years. And that's the timeline I'm looking at. So with this background, I think I will first start with Apurva. The reason is she is based in Geneva and she has seen this sector very closely for almost 1 year. She was one of the first initiator for me who told me about this whole cryptocurrency thing a year back. And I was absolutely novice about it. But now when I see so many Indian companies coming into this space and their integration happening with the world level company, I can very well see that there is a deep connect across the globe about this cryptocurrency. So Apurva, will you decode, make it simple? What is the script of cryptocurrency?
Firstly, thank you so much for introducing me, and thank you so much for giving me the space. I'm indeed in awe to be amidst such august company. Again, I would like to give a disclaimer right at the start. I'm also quite new to the cryptocurrency industry, and I don't consider myself an expert in any way. But as a human rights lawyer and as somebody who lives in Switzerland and who has seen this industry up close, I'd like to first sort of establish the fact that we do live in an increasingly unstable world, with especially COVID hitting us, and of course affecting us in unprecedented ways. So if we ever have to imagine in a post-COVID world, if ever there is, what I think what's pivotal to understand is that we're moving closer to decentralization and self-reliance. And cryptocurrency and blockchain technology would, of course, bring this increased connectivity and transparency in our daily exchanges and supply chains. So when COVID hit us, one of the first things that I noticed is how resilient cryptocurrency proved to be. And various sectors, if we look at healthcare, if we look at education, finance, et cetera, everyone started looking at things from a different perspective and started looking at different solutions for the novel problems that we suddenly had to face. And we started noticing how people came up with solutions such as using blockchain technology to even deploy and like ship medicines to COVID-stricken regions, and also maybe in the near future we'd have blockchain technology used to track COVID-19 testing and vaccinations as well. So when we look at India in this, when we look at India and cryptocurrency industry, there is this, increased notion of mistrust and vagueness that shrouds this industry, especially. And so what's important, as Sudhir sir now said, is to sort of define what cryptocurrency is and incorporate a concise mechanism, which will, of course, build trust and belief in the system. So what's important right now is to have a regulatory mechanism which would sort of put in place a monitoring system to sort of supervise the daily operations. And so as a human rights lawyer, one of the first things that I'd like to sort of establish is how UN and other international organizations have sort of been inching closer to adopting cryptocurrency. So in recent years, it's undertaken initiatives that incorporates artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and blockchain technology. And most of these, solutions have been in the experiment stage. But recently, UNICEF, established something called the Cryptocurrency Fund, which I consider to be, one of the biggest finds of the year. And so what they basically did is they, started receiving donations in two cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and Ether, as donations. So I think crowdfunding using cryptocurrency is something that international organizations are looking at, because the speed of transfer operations, the transmission of funds makes cryptocurrency something, which is interesting, which is an interesting, like an option, especially while dealing with international emergencies and other crises. So I feel like cryptocurrency does not exist just in the world of finances, but also in, like in the world of development aid, for that matter. So, I mean, of course, there is, increased, association of cryptocurrency with illicit activities and money laundering, et cetera, which does exist. Of course, there is a lot of scams as well. And that's exactly why it must be regulated, because, a lot of institutions, let's say the Red Cross, NGOs such as TECO, Save the Children, the Water Project, etc., have started using cryptocurrency in their daily operations. So I feel like it's pretty much inevitable, and India must actually come up with a regulatory mechanism rather than ban them.
I will come back to you, Apurva. I know you will put a deeper connect between human rights, democracies, and cryptocurrency, and that's something we'll go deeper in the second round. I will come to Arvind Nair, senior advocate, who has been working on the technology space. A lot of law firms brief him. In fact, we have been giving him a work which is very much connected with the entire technology part of, which is not equivalent to cryptocurrency, but this is something which will create a technology framework. Arvind, what do you think we are as a country, India, if we talk about India specifically, after the Supreme Court order on cryptocurrency in March 2020, what is the stand of the government? And what is the crux of the Supreme Court of India's order? And will it facilitate business of cryptocurrency and the cryptocurrency exchanges? Is there some movement happening there?
Well, thank you for that introduction. Before I directly answer your question, let me just say I think Apurva has very eloquently sort of given an introduction about cryptocurrency in saying about the experimental part of it and the fact that it is the way forward. I think we all know that the only constant that exists in the world, especially after this surreal COVID hit time, is change. So this change is definitely going to come. I think just to sort of give a comparative view, I think it's not been more than 5 years when people who were using their laptops in the courts, in the High Court or the Supreme Court, to address the courtroom were few and far between. In fact, if I go back 5 years in time, I probably saw only 1 or 2 people in the High Court holding their laptops and trying to address the honorable judges. But now, we are all doing everything by by means of technology and by VC and so on and so forth. So this is definitely the way forward, because this is one pandemic. I think the governments, the statutory regulators, the various industries that are hit by it will hereinafter also sort of prepare for similar issues. I think if you look at the United Nations, after the Second World War, the United Nations was strengthened. So I think once a catastrophe hits, that's when the world starts to prepare for it. So in that view, I think the use of Bitcoin technology, cryptocurrency, the mining processes, the technical innovations per se, it's going to really increase, and it's going to probably hit the roof at a pace that we can't probably anticipate, or we are in the process of anticipating. Your question about the Honorable Supreme Court, how did the Supreme Court come in? 2013 is the time from when the Government of India and the Reserve Bank of India started their. That's around the time when their gaze first came onto this field and this line. That's when they started coming out with their notifications. There were various notifications, and there was a notification in 2017. Finally, 2018, there was a notification which sort of directly didn't hit cryptocurrency, but it had an indirect effect in the sense that the banks and other financial institutions were prohibited from doing any business with those entities that were dealing in cryptocurrency. So that's how that challenge took place from the Internet and Mobile Association of India. To my mind now, although I was not involved in that litigation, I have gone through that judgment. I've seen it earlier. I've again looked at it. I think the Honorable Supreme Court has done a fantastic balancing act, because if you see the components of the challenge, and if you see the stand of the Reserve Bank of India, what emerges from a study of the judgment is the Honorable Supreme Court agreed with most of the submissions made by the Reserve Bank of India, in the sense that the Supreme Court said that the Reserve Bank of India does have the power to regulate virtual currency because there is potential for this to be used as a medium of exchange. The Honorable Supreme Court also said that this is not a violation of Article 19(1)(g) because there have reasonable restrictions, as we all know, can be imposed. However, nevertheless, in this brilliant balancing act, the Honorable Supreme Court struck down the notification, saying, primarily on the ground of reasonableness and proportionality, the logic being that in the last 5 years, the government or other statutory authorities that are involved had not found any evidence or any specific cases where there had been any misuse. This, I think, sort of indicates that the Honorable Supreme Court has taken a very, very broad view, has taken a very progressive view. This means that there is no prohibition or no discouraging for this technology to grow. So the only way forward for this technology is growth, probably exponential growth in the pandemic. However, the Honorable Supreme Court has also made it clear that the statutory authorities, and especially the Reserve Bank of India, are not going to be prohibited or precluded from trying to moderate, trying to control, or trying to influence the use of technology in any way, with the underlying principle being public interest. So as far as protection of public interest is concerned, they will be within their rights to come out with stipulations. I think what's going to happen with any technology that is dynamic in nature is that there is going to be a lot of wait and see. There's going to be a lot of action and reaction. We are going, as its usage proliferates, and as more and more organizations start to look at it as legal tender, that's when you're going to have a lot of stipulations. That I think is the balancing act, which was by no means simple.
Brilliant. Very good. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Arvind, for starting this on such a broad spectrum about India you gave. And in the next panel, I can promise when the next panel will be of the founders, and there'll be Indian founders and the global founders like Serge Komarami. Serge Komarami is a thinker in the cryptocurrency thing. For the world over, people know him as, and we got him in this, and he'll be in the next panel. But you have nicely said that there is a deep interconnect, and as a large democracy, Indian courts have been very progressive and they have taken a stand. Now let's go to the pulse of all this. We need to know the pulse where the Indian business is moving forward, and who better can tell us than Pratibha Jain, because her firm is a technology leader in the legal space, and she will know the pulse where this whole cryptocurrency thing is actually hitting on the ground, and how the business is coming, how business houses are coming for advices on cryptocurrency, and what are the bottlenecks she feels would be there, and how this will become a thing of future. Pratibha, all yours.
Thanks, Sudhir. Actually, very refreshing to hear a discussion which starts with the premise that how do we get cryptocurrency, legitimized and regulated in the country. I don't think anybody is denying the requirement for regulation, but definitely a need for recognition is what we've been working with the industry now for many years now. As you know, we've also involved in the Supreme Court case on behalf of the industry organization, IMAI. I remember, when my litigation colleagues came to me with this, I was like, my God, this is going to be such an uphill task to get this through the courts. But like Arvind said, we were very proud of the Supreme Court that day when the judgment came. Because I think the proportionality test really gave hope, not just for the cryptocurrency businesses, but in general, as technology advancement happens. This is something. In fact, in the judgment, there was a concept of neti neti, the Vedic concept that was mentioned by the Honorable Court. The concept of neti neti is an expression of something inexpressible, but which seeks to capture the essence of that to which no other definition applies. And this conundrum, according to them, would squarely apply in the concept of would apply to cryptocurrencies. And that is so beautifully said, right? To your initial question, Sudhir, of how do you define cryptocurrencies? It's such a and this is true for pretty much any of the technology spaces we are working in currently. The law is a lagger in terms of the technological advancement happening in the world. You can't keep catching up. And so the typical stance of regulating technology, similar to how you regulate the other sectors, is just not going to work, because technology will always be ahead of law. That's what we keep discussing with the regulators. And the only way to do this is going to be a principle-based approach. And key to that is principle of harm. And that's what the Supreme Court also looked at. That as long as there's no harm that you can show that has happened, then your regulation currently is not proportionate, right? So if you can look at a principle-based approach to technology, including cryptocurrencies, and use broad, like, if you look at the Indian Penal Code, it's so old, but there are hardly any amendments you make to it because it's principle-based. There's simple principles of harm embedded in every provision. That's how you've got to look at technology, and that's the discussion we've been having with the regulators. In terms of businesses, there are various business models that got affected, and most of the people in the next panel are existing clients of the firm. And it was really unfair because, we had worked really hard with them in terms of setting up, very, very robust. With the self-regulation of the exchanges, the cryptocurrency exchanges in India was very high. It was higher than, some of the other sectors that are regulated. Because when you're highly regulated, you try and find loopholes. When it wasn't regulated, we were all scared, saying, anybody can come to us for anything. So let's be prepared and have very high levels of self-regulation. And that's what, we had very high KYC standards. And that's why no wrongdoing was found by RBI. So, but it's very difficult for these businesses to operate in an environment of uncertainty. And we still have the Garg committee report sword hanging on our heads. Even though the Garg committee report was penned down before the judgment came, so I think the government will find it very difficult to implement it now. But they still haven't negated it, and they keep making references to it. In that kind of regulatory uncertainty that exists today, it's very difficult for us to even come up with business structures that can scale up. Because till you have a legitimacy that is provided, getting investors becomes very difficult. And I'm sure, all these discussions will happen in the next panel, and the founders can tell us,
Yes.
the problems they face in terms of even just getting, whether bank funding or, investments. That's what and it's really unfortunate, right? Because Apurva sitting in Switzerland, I was there for the World Economic Forum. The whole world was talking about moving forward with technology. How do you use cryptocurrencies to bring progress to the world, to provide decentralization, to strengthen democracy, and to forget everything else, right? The economic sense of it for developing countries. Today, the cost of doing business, just the transactional cost is 4 to 5% in India. You will save right there in terms of getting investors to commit to the Indian economy if you're saving 4 to 5% just in transaction cost. And forget everything else. When the world is moving forward, and on my panel in the World Economic Forum in Davos, we had people from Switzerland who were looking so far ahead in terms of what you can do with crypto. And I was feeling so bad because we had the brains to do it. We had the infrastructure to do it. But just because of this regulatory uncertainty, India is going to stay far behind in this.
So very well. But what you said is the takeaway point for me in the first round is that law will be ahead than the business will be ahead than law and the governance. And that has been the case of the rise of Bangalore and the rise of IT, where despite governance, we did so well on IT. So I am hoping against hope that with the kind of founders we have in this country and their integration with the global ecosystem is happening, the government will come around and it will become a little easier. So I'll get Mr. Ajit Mishra now, solicitor in London, in the first round. Ajit, can you see me? Ajit, I think Ajit had joined. Ajit, can you see me? Is Ajit there?
He is here, but he's on mute.
Ajit, I think, can somebody tell him? I can't see him.
Sudhir, I think it may be a good idea to call him sometimes.
No, he just joined. I saw him. He was here. Ajit, can you hear us?
I think he's trying to log in again. He's saying he couldn't hear us. I think he's logging in again.
Okay, I will come back to Ajit again. If Tanvi, can you just call him and say that he can be here, and then we'll bring him again. While I go back to Apurva. Yeah, Apurva, you set it up very nicely. Everybody agrees that you really told us that what actually is the ABCD of it. So when Pratibha nails it to the problematic area for us as a country, especially she was talking about India, that despite the Supreme Court judgment and still some favorable companies trying their best in the prevailing circumstances. If I ask you, what are the success stories of cryptocurrency? Which are the jurisdictions in the world? Which are the shining examples and how they have succeeded? One, which are the successes and how they have succeeded? Now, that can be a roadmap for Indian companies.
Of course. I mean, I live in Switzerland, where cryptocurrency is not seen as something which is alien. There are places here where you can buy a cup of coffee and with cryptocurrency. So it's not something which it's a concept that's almost regularized for us. So I mean, Switzerland even has adopted a blockchain act, which which is ratified and which may come into force next year. So that's how ahead we are. And so as someone who knows Serge, who will be speaking in the next panel, I'm sure he will have more to say about how Switzerland has adopted cryptocurrency and how we're so far ahead when it comes to regularizing the use of it. So I think we've all sort of come to like consensus in the fact that the world is moving towards a crypto friendly system. And one of the things that I noticed is how even the concept of taxation is quite like structured in Switzerland, and I think that itself shows how we in Switzerland have sort of understood what cryptocurrency industry it is, and also realized how this is a new reality and we must sort of adopt our jurisdiction in order to accept it.
Good. And I will ask you one more supplementary question because I thought you will speak a little more. What is your definition of this is something which is very passionate to you? What is the democratic part of cryptocurrency? Why it is so, you feel you connect democracy and cryptocurrency very deep? How do you see that?
I think the main factor is the very core of cryptocurrency, which is that it is decentralized, and the transparency with which cryptocurrency stands. So I think these two concepts sort of like make way, or it sort of paves path for a democratic structure. Like even when you look at sort of making donations using blockchain and cryptocurrency, transparency is something which I think is pivotal to it, and the very fact that you can sort of trace the transactions and how everything is decentralized is something which I think it's sort of the crux of what a democratic structure is. So yeah.
Very good. Arvind, I'll come to you. And we had a very good first round done. And the second round, we are moving towards finding solutions. And she says that Switzerland has very good tax structure. In India, we have a problem with the tax structure because we chase people sometime after many, many years, sometime after a decade, and that becomes an issue. So yes, tax structure is something we'll sort out at the end. I believe when we actually, the Indian company will start making money. That's where as a country, sometimes we react. But tell me, if you have to see a picture ahead, where do you see the regulatory mechanism coming? Is Pratibha's apprehensions are right? And do you feel that the kind of employment crisis we are seeing in this country and the kind of dearth of new ideas which we have an issue today, naturally, you'll be looking at it from a point of view that how the new technology and the new, and since we have an integration with our existing technological excellence in South Asia, which we are better than most of our neighboring countries, and we have a democracy, which is very, very beneficial for cryptocurrency. So where do you see this journey going, Arvind?
Pratibha is absolutely right. She said she was at the World Economic Forum, and she was a little worried that India may again end up playing catch up on this. But Apurva gave the example of Switzerland. Along with Switzerland, I'd also like to give the example of a place like Canada, which specifically accepts and allows the use of digital currency for stores and for organizations which accept it. But having said that, even in Canada, it's not accepted as legal tender. Now, let's not for a moment lose sight of the fact, Sudhir, that there is always an elapse of time in which the regulation catches up with the innovation. If you look at Switzerland, London, Canada, these are places which Switzerland, for instance, has been the center of the world financial market for about 100 years. India only got free in 1947. I do share Pratibha's concern, but I'm very optimistic that in this case, our catch up will be much faster. And my reason for saying that is another space where I am personally very active. It's the arbitration space.
Yes.
When we went out for seminars and conferences in Europe or in American conferences, let's say 2005, 2010, 2012, we experienced a lot of angst about how the Indian arbitration system, despite the amendments of 96, was lagging behind. They said it takes so long, for the challenges, so on and so forth. But now in the last 3 to 5 years, if we see, in the last 2 or 3 years, there has been a slew of amendments in the Arbitration Act, just so that we can catch up, just so that when our authorities call out for foreign direct investment, nobody should be held back because of the slowness of our alternate dispute regulation structure. So I think we are going to catch up. Of course, our pace may not be as quick as Switzerland or Canada or France or Germany, but then you used the word democratic. I think our pace is going to be much better. Learning from the arbitration experience, learning from the experience of the way we have tinkered recently with our corporate taxes, but keeping the fact that I think our sheer diversity of population, our varied interests when it comes to state governments, when it, I mean, just look at the number of varied interests that we have. Look at the number of people we have. So there, I think some sort of personal innovation. You also mentioned Bangalore becoming an IT hub, but that probably also had something to do with the personal predilection of the people who were settled there. So I think that democratic part of it is what sort of slows down our pace at times. But it's sort of imbibed in our constitution. It's there in our political structure. So we can't really wish it away. We,
Yeah.
we need to become faster, but we have those safeguards which work for better or for worse. They also work positively, they also work negatively when it comes to innovation. But I think we probably will catch up much faster, although it does remain an area of concern.
Brilliant. Thank you, Arvind. And before I go to Pratibha, I have few questions which have already come to us. So why I'm saying them now, because all three of them are addressed to Apurva Bose. So I'm just giving her time to prepare these questions, because they have been. So first is Rishikesh Induri, who has written, Apurva mentions democracy, transparency are key highlights of cryptocurrency. Will it mean that in a country like India can use it better for tackling corruption issues especially? The second question is, Apurva, if Switzerland's coffee shop permit one to buy coffee with crypto, how does the regulator there tax crypto holding? Is it taxed as income? Good questions. Just see the quality of these are practical questions. And the third one is also like that. Apurva, can you please tell us, and that is Tahseen Khan has asked the third question and Raj Shekhar has asked the second question. Third question by Tahseen Khan. Apurva, can you please tell us as to what broadly the Blockchain Act of Swiss contains? So I'll come back to you. So be with them, and I will go back to Pratibha again and ask Pratibha that what do you make out of this? You think it's a very productive debate we have started, because since the judgment came, we were in lockdown. It came virtually just before lockdown. This judgment came of the Supreme Court, and I feel that you are witnessing a lot of action, and I was aware about it that Nishit Desai would be witnessing a lot of action, a lot of queries. So even if you have your apprehensions in mind, but your 2 decades of extensive practice in the corporate area, do you see some silver lining at the end of it?
You always see a silver lining at the end of it. Otherwise, you would just give up and go home. No, we've come, very far. Even before the Supreme Court case, we had worked very closely with the industry to go and talk to the government about, because, the GAR committee report indications were already there with the industry, which, for those who don't know, the GAR committee report actually recommends banning of cryptocurrencies and has a lot of other problems. The definition of crypto is very, very broad. and it's an absolute ban. And the reasoning given there are also not understanding necessarily the issues that are faced by the industry or how the industry works. I think given the amount of interaction that the industry has had with the government, even in recent times, I know that the policy bodies have written to the government asking for, again, ensuring that there is a regulation and not a ban. I am hopeful, and especially now with the Supreme Court judgment, I'm very hopeful that the government is not going to now look at actually implementing the GAR committee report. But the problem that happens, Sudhir, is in the meantime, you're in the no man's land, because neither have you got. So the Supreme Court has struck down the circular for not being, proportionate. But at the same time, we don't have a final word from the government or the RBI as to, what's next. And that's what's really hurting the business. I think as soon as, or maybe hopefully, it's just been a month that all the the industry bodies wrote to the government on this again. I think the lockdown, there are a lot of other issues that the government's dealing with, so this might not be on priority. But I am very hopeful that we will see discussions, and that's why I'm very glad that we are having this discussion, because this can then help feed into that or help promote the government to come out and have that discussion as to what the regulations should look like, rather than sitting quiet on it. I'm also seeing some questions on sandbox. We had actually recommended for all the fears that the government had, uh, a sandbox model for cryptocurrencies also, like they have done for certain other sectors, and see how that works out. To help them explain and show how this will work, especially exchanges, especially seeing it as an asset rather than a currency that works in tandem with currency. So we are not even going to the extent of buying coffee. We are just saying treat it as another asset, and so you recognize it as the exchanges as commodity exchanges are recognized. So there are various other ways of regulating the cryptocurrency world without considering it as a currency, as a threat to the global or the national currency, and seeing it as a business by itself and an inherent value in that. And a lot of the concerns around, so for example, the concerns are that there's a lot of speculative transaction, for example, or anti-money laundering concerns. Um, all of those were concerns when you set up the securities market, right? And over time, you develop the regulation around it, but you don't ban it. And so that's, I think, the ask of the industry. And I think once we can provide them a framework in which we can operate, which we already have to a certain extent. We've already provided the KYC standards. We've already provided research on how it works globally. So I think based on that, I am very hopeful that something positive will come.
Okay, Pratibha, I have one question for you also, actually. So I would rather prefer you answer them before we go to Apurva and then finally to Arvind. Saurav Baweja asks from you that what is the procedure and approximate time to list token on cryptocurrency platforms in India, and what is the approximate cost for the same?
So actually, it varies from platform to platform, but I think the time is directly proportionate to the amount of time taken for KYC, etc. So per se, it's not a very prohibitive process if you've got all your KYCs in process, and now with Aadhaar, things are much easier. The costing, actually, I honestly don't know, because we represent the exchanges rather than the people who are investing with. If you write to me, I can find out and let you know.
Great. So we will come back to you on that. Okay, Apurva, you have only 1 minute to answer all the three questions. Yeah, 1 to 2 minutes. Yeah. Thank you, Pratibha. Yeah, Apurva. Yeah, Apurva. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
So when we talk about like cryptocurrency and blockchain preventing fraud and corruption, yes, I think it reduces the cost of enforcement. And this is mainly thanks to like the easily accessible information and faster cross check. So if I'm not wrong, the UNDP in India is actually using blockchain technology to record land registry, to make it more transparent and accountable. So yes, I think it can counter the problem of corruption. I'm not an expert on taxation laws, so
Right.
but it is listed under wealth tax. But with respect to taxation, it depends on the canton where you're from.
Yes.
So it differs from canton to canton, but it is listed under wealth tax.
Yes.
Talking about the Blockchain Act, it is something which is currently not available to the public, but the laws or the act is basically used as a mode to counter, money laundering.
Yes.
And so it does come under the Money Laundering Act here, but it is not currently open to the public.
Thank you, Apurva. Well done. Okay, I can see Dr. Anurag Batra has already come to moderate the next panel, but I'll have to go to my senior advocate, Arvind Nair, to have the final one minute to him. Yeah, Arvind.
I heard again what Pratibha said about taking it as an asset, and I was just looking at my little pointer note. I think we can, in this case, we can take a lot of guidance from how the Canadian system has worked, because Canada is also politically similar to India. It's an inclusive democracy. Now, Canada allows the use of digital currencies. Canada does not recognize this as legal tender. Canada's tax laws and rules also apply to digital currency transactions. Digital currencies are subject to income tax there. Also, I just checked, the Canada Revenue Agency also says that GST, HST will apply on the goods and services that you buy using digital currency. So I think in this case, we could probably, so that we don't waste valuable time in regulating, we could take guidance from a system which seems to be a few steps ahead of us in organizing this and in regulating this. And they look at it as a commodity, which sort of tallies with what Pratibha said about looking at it as an asset. So I think the future is exceptionally bright, and also, of course, some time will be taken, and I think we remain optimistic. We have guiding principles, Switzerland, Canada, other jurisdictions, and we can sort of catch up on this really quickly.
Wonderful, thank you. And I thank Apurva, Pratibha, and Arvind, and also Ajit Mishra, who joined, but he was not getting a good connection. We'll bring him back in some other program. And thanks a lot for this wonderful discussion on legal issues. You really set up the debate. And we go to panel 2 now. We can see Dr. Anurag Batra, the Businessworld editor-in-chief and founder of Exchange for Media, who is sitting there. He has personally taken a lot of interest on cryptocurrency. He's aware that in his panel, there are founders, there are people like Serge who have come, Nishal is there. These are the thought leaders for the entire world. Over to you, Dr. Anurag Batra, for the second panel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Congratulations to Pratibha, Apurva, Mr. Nair, and you for doing a session and setting the tone. I have a tough act to follow, because some of the things that have been talked about will still be relevant in terms of regulation, in terms of aligning all the stakeholders in the same direction. On my panel, I have a very heavyweight panel. I have Sergey Komoromi, former, platform. He runs a platform foundation out of Geneva. I have Nishal Shetty, CEO of a platform in the crypto space. I have, it's a WazirX is a platform that is growing very well. Sumit Gupta, who's the co-founder and CEO of CoinDCX. And I have Avinash Shekhar of ZepPay. So really, these are people who are pioneers in this business. Sergey has been a pioneer. Sumit, Nishal, all of them are making sure that they're doing. These are early days in the crypto world, and the March order of lifting the ban on crypto was very welcome, but not much has happened in the last 7 months, I would say. The expectations in March were very high, but with Corona happening and the economic environment being slow, nothing has happened as anticipated. Of course, there has been volatility on these exchanges. The prices of Bitcoins and two other cryptocurrencies have gone up, and gold prices have gone up. And I don't know if there's a connection or not, but the investors are spending more and more time in their homes. They're doing e-trading, and they do see Bitcoin as an opportunity. They see cryptocurrencies as opportunity. We need to create a more enabling framework. Yes, in every domain, when it's in early days, there are regulatory issues. I know when investments are involved, when investors are involved, the government tends to wear kids' gloves. I would also say there are vested interests who wouldn't want cryptocurrencies to be that popular till they have figured out what they want to do with their plans on crypto. Without naming, I am sure you understand who I'm referring to. So let me bring in each one of you for your opening comments on how the platforms in crypto world can be really strengthened, what is the regulators can do, what the platform owners can do, and what the investors can do. Of course, there are other stakeholders, as advisors, so on and so forth, but let's keep it simple. Let me start with Sergey. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Well, it's a French name, kind of, or Russian name, but Serge is okay. Go ahead. Yes, you nailed it right.
Surge in the cryptocurrency world, literally a surge. But Sergey, go ahead. Give us your opening comments.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to say that actually it's nothing marginal. The blockchain technology, which is underlying the cryptocurrencies, it's something, it's a superior way of transacting. It's cheaper, it's quicker, it's more democratic, it's more transparent, it's much better. Okay, it's like oil is better than coal. So, and it's not a fad. Actually, the grandmother of one of my colleagues at the time thought that electricity was a fad and it would go away quite quickly. Actually, nowadays, when something has been discovered, invented, and is by far superior to the old ways of doing things, even though vested interest might try to slow it down, by the way, which has been the case, by the way, at the end of the day, it will impose itself. So that is my first general remark. I think that Bitcoin and now altcoins and everything, we are just at the beginning, okay? But it will impose itself. We have not yet reached mass adoption at all, but I might also come back to that in a second. And the second thing I wanted to say, don't forget what were the circumstances in which Bitcoin, was invented. That was the Great Recession. That was the heart attack from the financial system globally, who gave birth to Bitcoin in the first place, okay? And the second general thing I wanted to say is that if you are a little bit, studying history, and especially like financial history in humankind, you'll find out that fiat experiments have always been transient and usually are finishing with like going to zero, right? So these are I would say the main two things I want to say is that we have now a superior way of transacting, okay? And it will impose itself in due course, and it might, and also, and then I don't want to monopolize too much, but about the timing, you said that nothing much happened since the ban was lifted, actually. And as you said yourself, just a few minutes later, actually, the timing was so lucky because that was just at the bottom of the black kind of like fear that Wall Street had to cope with in March. And at the time, the Bitcoin went down to 4,700, which was a little bit disappointing. But now it's like above 12,000. And I have to say that a flurry, I mean, a firework of announcements, initiatives, and so on. BIS, IMF, Chinese, I mean, the Chinese will come out with a cryptocurrency of their own quite soon. US is a bit panicking. Sweden and everyone, digital Swiss franc will come sooner or later, blah, blah, and everything. No, now we have really, the timing is incredible. And also, then I can also speak a little bit about Switzerland and what happened, but I don't want to monopolize.
So, my last comment before I bring in everyone. From where you're sitting, see, India is, I think we've improved on kind of leading the world, but mostly in a lot of areas, we follow the world. Now, when you're in Switzerland, how do you see the Indian market? I just want a small commentary on that.
Okay. You are almost as bad as Europe. Okay.
Thank you for
now,
that.
Now, wait a minute. I want to explain. I want to explain a little bit. We are caught between two elephants, being China and the US. Okay. And we are a little bit similar. We are very much, if I compare EU to India, okay, it's very much federal. It's it's quite big. It's democratic. It's a lot of things, but where are the new tech champions? When you want to search, you go to Google. When you want to speak to your friends, you go to Facebook, and those things. And it seems that, and the same for us, okay? And since we could not have champions, we are now trying to regulate those elephants, tech elephants from the US. So I think, but now I want to finish with a very positive comment, which I believe deeply in, which is that India has everything to succeed. You have a huge population. You have a young population. You have an IT-savvy population. You have a democratic process, more or less. Hopefully, it will continue like this. You have, I was discussing with Apurva the other day, you have this new telephone. What is the name? Geo or something?
Geo. The platform. It's a platform. It's a telco. And I wrote a piece 14 years back that the differentiation between what is a telco, what is a media company, and what is a technology company, as we would call it, TMT, it'll go away, and that's what has happened. They want to do everything. They want to do content. They want to do communities. They want to do commerce. So he also has physical. It's owned by India's richest man. He's just during lockdown, he raised about a little short of $20 billion if you take his retail business and the platform business. So Geo, it's J-I-O.
Yeah, Geo.
Like there's a joke going around, Sergey, that he will buy Mumbai and he'll call it Geo de Janeiro. But that's a joke. Don't take it seriously.
Geo can be seen as an infrastructure for the development of the.
By the way, he's laying cables, very high speed fiber cables, which will bring content to your one screen, and through that screen you can Facebook is invested in it, Google is invested in it, and you can order. They're digitizing the last mile merchants, the small shops in your neighborhood. We call them the Kirana merchants. They're digitized. So on WhatsApp you can order. So they have an ambitious plan, but yes, a lot of people believe that if Geo launches a cryptocurrency called Geo Coin, or then possibly the market will get regularized and it will grow. That's also another expectation. And I remember at Businessworld, just before the ban was brought in, we did a cover story maybe 2 months before the ban saying there will be a ban. It was a cover, and we said RBI is will bring a death knell to crypto because we had some information, we were right. So clearly, this is a space that we watch very keenly. And I want to say, you talk about blockchain. Blockchain technology has the ability to revolutionize what we do, bring down costs, provide solutions, be digital in a true way, and most important, bring efficiencies in a way that have never been thought of. Also, it is secure. I mean, nothing in this world is fully secure, but it's very secure. So I will come back to you, and thank you, Sergey, for explaining why India has an opportunity. And we have 3 entrepreneurs in India who are trying to grow this opportunity. They're pioneers. So they will have the pioneer's burden of creating the market. Let me bring in Nishchal. Nishchal, you heard Sergey. What are your opening comments on what the government can do better, what the platform owners who own exchanges like you can do better, and what the investors need to do?
Sure. So I think the first thing that we as an industry expect from the government is just participation. Just get together, hear our point of view. Like in the previous panel, there was talk about the GERG committee report, for example. I would say there has to be a deep participation with the existing crypto industry because we know what is happening on the ground out here. So if regulators start a dialogue, a channel of discussion with us, I think that's going to be the best first step ahead for India. And we, as an industry, we are trying to do that, and I'm sure that we will reach that stage soon. So that's one. The other, as an industry, what are we supposed to do? And I think we are already doing that. A large part of it is self-regulation. And most of the crypto businesses in India wholeheartedly follow this. It's surprising. No one has actually told us to do this. No one has, put the regulatory stuff on us already. But all of us from day one have been following a few practices, which is KYC, AML, and whatever we can, looking at the traditional systems. But I think if there is a formal regulation from the government, that would just make it easy for the industry to ensure that only good actors remain in the ecosystem, and there's no fear of I would say bad actors taking advantage of the regulatory uncertainty that exists today. So that's the second thing. I think the third thing for the consumers, they're doing it brilliantly. Everyone's involved, even during the RBI ban, for example. The thing that kept us as an industry going was the user base. Because despite the ban, there were hardships for people to get involved in crypto, and they still did that. They went ahead, they transacted in crypto despite not having easy banking access. That shows, and ultimately it's the consumers that drive the entire sector. So I think that in fact is the best I would say signal for all of us, for the government, that people want this. It's not like we are pushing for it. People are asking for it, and it's actually the youngsters. And if you see the history of, be it the internet, mobile phones, youngsters get onto that first, and then the rest of the people follow. And I believe that the youngsters are showing the direction for our nation, which is cryptocurrencies are something they're interested in. So I think we should all get into it, try to understand before we even want to say anything negative. We should first try to have some deep understanding of what this is.
You're saying
because
the government needs to engage with the stakeholder, understand the benefits, and create a framework, because otherwise, anyway, it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And
in July, you had said that your company is growing at 66 to 70%, and in July there were 5 million, cryptocurrency, traders in India, if I may use, investors. That number is up to 6.5 or 7 million now.
Yeah, easily. And in fact, the last 6 months, all of us, not just us, the entire industry has seen a massive jump in the number of people coming online and getting into crypto. Massively because of the whole pandemic, where people have lost their jobs. They want to find alternative ways to invest and make money.
In a deflation, where in an economy which has so much, inflation happening, it is more risk-proof, if I may say. It is deflation-proof, so to say, right? So clearly, gold, of course, the gold bonds are maturing. So government wouldn't want the gold rates to go up now. So that's why in the last 30 days, the gold rates are stable. But overall, the great gold rates have been growing. So clearly, if there's an opportunity that you rightly said, that the consumers or the investors want to participate, and we should create the right framework. We'll come back again to you. Let me bring in Sumit, your opening remarks.
Sure. Thanks, Anurag, for having me here. And what I can say is that, cryptocurrency is seeing a surge as a new asset class for investing in India. And what I've personally seen is that, especially among the young generation, right, which is entering the workforce, they actually want to invest part of their savings into this new asset class. They want to create wealth for themselves. They want to create wealth for them, their families. And these are some of the people who are not investing into equity markets, but directly jumping into crypto. So there's a large chunk of young generation which is directly moving to crypto because they believe in it, right? They believe that this is going to be the future. And these youngsters, they actually want to invest into cryptocurrencies, but because of the there are two challenges that I fundamentally see in the Indian crypto ecosystem. One is the lack of regulations. The lack of regulations is essentially stopping the new people who want to invest, right? They want to invest their hard-earned savings so that they can make wealth. They are not very comfortable doing that because there has been a lot of negative sentiments in the media. There have been a lot of news about crypto being banned by the RBI, right? So these are some regulation, I think, is very essential, right? Once we see the regulations come in, then the entire space will grow. And the second challenge that I see in the Indian crypto industry right now is the lack of knowledge, right? If we compare the understanding that Indians have about crypto as an asset class versus what people have in the West, I think there's a gap that I see here, right? And that gaps needs to be filled, right? In addition to what others have said.
Sumit, how do you think that gap can be fulfilled?
Yeah, so as we are driving, as we are part of the industry, I think it's a collective responsibility to make sure that people are getting the knowledge, right? People are getting the right tools, the right material to start learning about it, right? For example, at Coin-D6, we have launched a Try Crypto campaign where we are telling people that, and we have also launched a DCX Learn platform. It's absolutely free of cost. Any Indian can start learning about it right from the basic and start understanding what exactly is Bitcoin, what exactly is blockchain, right? And can become proficient in that, right? I have seen that journey myself. I mean, 5 years back, I was also a newbie. I had no idea about what Bitcoin is. And what we have seen is that, if you want the investor protection, right, I think right knowledge is the key. A lot of people, if they invest without the understanding, they might lose money, right? We have been
investor, in a country which is so underpenetrated in terms of investments, whether you look at the stock markets,
yes.
you look at mutual funds, you look at any asset class, we are underpenetrated. Even there, we have to do so much education so that in spite of so many years, so of course, crypto is a new area, we need to educate even more. So your campaign in terms of Try Crypto, and educate people, I think collectively as an industry, if you came together and you brought out the facets that are positive and took away these, there are worrisome issues about crypto, which and in the past it has been misused, and all kind of unscrupulous people have become poster boys for crypto in the past. I don't want to take names, but I'm sure you guys are in the industry, you know that. Avinash, your opening comments.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Anurag. So I think I agree with Sumit on the education part, in the sense that basically the crypto exchanges are, in a way, it's a bridge between the old world and the new world. Right. And what is basically required, not only in the customer side, for example, we try to educate the customer, but I think more importantly, what is required is education at the government and even at the mainstream media. I mean, many times we read reports in the mainstream media which are like factually incorrect kind of. So I think education and knowing and putting lights on things, that becomes very, very important. I mean, there are many, for example, there is a belief that crypto transactions are not traceable. In fact, they are traceable. They are like immutable records which no one can change. Okay, so my belief is that that we'll be able to convince the government on the regulatory side if we get the opportunity to educate both through media and directly to the government. And we are trying to do that.
I would say a lot of time, knowing how media works, the negative stories about Bitcoin are prompted by authorities, okay? Because they want to caution people about Bitcoins, about cryptocurrency. I think the biggest need, from my understanding of how the environment works, is for all of you to come together and go to the authorities that matter, whether it's the Ministry of Finance, whether it's SEBI, whether it's the PMO, and explain to subject matter experts there the pros and cons, and explain to them how the cons are being covered, how to make, because the government's interest is that no investor should be cheated. Second is, as you know, Bitcoins in the past could have been misused by anti-national elements, by money launderers, so on. I mean, I don't want to go that route, but they could have been. At least there were worries. Yes, Avinash, you want to say something?
So actually, if you say that exchange which are sitting in between to actually prevent that from happening. If you criminalize the exchange, you are actually inviting all those negative or cons to, and as an industry, actually we are trying. I mean,
it's like prohibition. The more you make prohibition, the liquor is available at 2x price of the market. So clearly, the way to enable any ecosystem is to be upfront about it, to allow it to happen. Anything that you suppress will find other ways of manifesting.
Yeah, and Nishal said that basically.
Yes, go ahead.
As Nishal said that basically, I mean, ban will only like remove the good players and bring the bad players into the market.
Totally. You know, Sarjay, if we had to do 3 things as Indians, as a regulator, as the government, what would your advice to decision makers in this country?
Okay, first of all, yeah. A question to me, right?
Yes,
so first of all, I would impress on the government, and that's your role, guys, how inevitable it is. Don't lose this opportunity, because if you don't catch it, it will go anyway, and it will go. If you take it out by the door, it will come back by the window later, and you will be only a passive actor instead of a participant to the new. You know, the global standards and norms and so on. Indeed, and this is exactly the same in Switzerland, and I agreed with self-regulation and so on, it's all about AML. It's all about AML. But this is a little bit like also, it's true that marginally, probably there is like terror or maybe like illegal money or even, I mean, terrorist money, I don't believe so much, but maybe like tax evasion money. Yeah, that is, but you know, it's nothing new. Do you know that in Switzerland, we have the largest, the higher value banknote in the world, 1,000 Swiss francs, one note, 2 grams that you put in your pocket, $1,200, right? So, you know, so this is the first thing I would do is to convince Indian authorities in general that now is time to foster your potential and stop kicking you in the foot. Okay, number one.
You're right, Sanjay. You're saying focus on the positive possibilities because it's anyway inevitable, and minimize the negative aspect.
Right. And to that, why don't you indeed, as a precedent panelist, Mr. Naya was saying, so why don't we draw a little bit on what is happening on other countries? I wouldn't pretend we are so much ahead, by the way. But you know, it's a bit the same ideas as in India. By definition, this is not toxic waste. This is a new opportunity. Okay, so instead of banning, and as in India, in Switzerland, we have freedom of commerce and association and enterprise, and we are a liberal country. So at the end of the day, the financial authorities in Switzerland are saying the following. By definition, we will not regulate ICOs, for instance, okay, or these cryptocurrencies, because, you know, it's a new development. It's a new technology, and Swiss authorities declare themselves to be technology neutral. They don't take sides, okay? They will make sure, and as another lady panelist was saying in the first panel, that in fact consumers, users, players, investors are protected, but it's nothing new. It's exactly the same with financial activities and so on. As you said, Switzerland has been keen on for decades now, okay? So that's the number two. Regulation but in a kind of like light way. And what Switzerland did, and in case I would be only too happy to feed you with references and links so that you can check the few documents which are relevant in Switzerland, and you will find out that we have, for instance, established categories in the token. We have 3 categories which are not exclusive from each other. One is payment token, that would be Bitcoin, for instance, Ethereum, and so on. We have utility token that could help to access a service or a platform. And we have security token, in which you need prospectus, you need to get a little bit more regulated, because you might promise things to people like a share or a bond. Okay, so Swiss authorities are recognizing that this blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are vastly different animals, okay, in the new zoo, and that in fact you cannot regulate the elephant and you know, I don't know, like a flea, the same categories, freedom, and then the last thing I want to say, holistic approach to each new idea and project to see how far it has to be regulated, and in the first place, in which category it can be placed. For instance, Boss Agora project, we have also our token, the BOA, is a so-called hybrid token, because we have payment, some features and utility features. We are not a security token, you see? So pragmatic, down to earth, liberal, light touch.
Applications and different usages, and then different kind of investors. So that enlarges the market.
And different types of regulations, more heavy or lighter.
Depending on the usage, depending on the nature of the token.
Yes.
Nishal, today we are talking on October 2020. If I talk to you in October 2021, what is your sense of where we are headed, or where would you like us to be headed? Give us a sense in terms of numbers, how big the industry will be. Let's assume that we all are able to impress upon the government on the positive aspects of cryptocurrency, and the government creates an enabling framework with all the checks and balances, and the deployment and acceleration of cryptocurrency grows hugely. So where will we be in a year?
See, I think in a world of you know, everything being perfect for this industry, I think we can easily grow at least 5 to 10x than what we are today.
So you're saying from 6.5 in July we were 5 million, in August, September we were 6.5. Let's say we are 7 million. You're saying we'll grow 5x is 35 million, 10x is 70 million.
Yeah, at least 30 to 50 million. I can say that those many, and I'll give you the reason why. You know, this is very, so we want to equate crypto with finance, and that is true. But let's look at something before that. What happened with the internet? You know, you had regular postal services, and then the email came, and you see the adoption that it can get. It's very similar to that out here. The traditional financial system is like the postal services of the old world, and your cryptocurrencies are like the email of the new world. And if I think 30 to 50, I would still be underplaying the numbers, because ultimately what would happen is there would be a day when everyone in India would be involved in crypto in some way or the other. Just like everyone has a mobile phone, everyone has email, or you know, some form of online social identity. Crypto is going to be part of our online social behavior. So I'm still underplaying the numbers, but yeah, I think we can easily go 5 to 10x what we are today.
Thank you so much. And if you had to do one thing, what you as an entrepreneur can do, what you as WazirX can do, what would be that to contribute to this growth? So,
you know, I've been doing a few things already. One is spreading awareness through this campaign called India Wants Crypto, which I started. It's been 723 days now. And the idea was to spread the right information, like we all discussed before. spreading the right information is the solution to everything, because all of these problems that we see today, all of the confusion, it only exists because there's such a new technology which changes every month, I would say. Understanding it and knowing what it is the most important thing. Once people know that, I really doubt someone would really be completely against cryptocurrencies. So spreading this knowledge is the number one thing that I'm doing personally. The other is, as entrepreneurs, all of us should look at building large companies. And I'll tell you why. Let's take the example of the United States. They have at least $5 billion crypto industry, like companies today. And that has forced the regulators there to collaborate and work towards regulation. Because when you create large industries that can function, the government would not want to kill it. They would want to regulate it because that grows our economy. So I think as entrepreneurs, we should look at building large companies in this space. Whether there is regulation or not, we cannot wait for it. We should go and, technology always precedes regulation. So we should not really sit back. We should all create the largest companies we can in this space in India so that the government wants to regulate it. I think we have to show the path forward. And that's what, at least at Wazirex, we are trying to do, build a large company.
So you're saying anything that legitimately grows the economy will be welcome and hence create an impact which grows the economy. That's what I'm hearing. Sumit Gupta, that's one thing that you will do to be at 35, 50 million as an industry. Of course, as a player in it, you will benefit. So just want to understand.
Yeah, Anurag, I'm of the firm opinion that if we want to grow the industry, right, education continues to remain as the key component. And why I want to highlight that is, that currently in terms of awareness, we are less than 0.4% of the population, right? These are the people who are like somehow directly or indirectly touching crypto, right? And if you talk about like US, I mean, the number is 10x from here already, right? So there's a big gap. And if we want the industry to grow, right, it has to, right now there is a lot of gap in terms of understanding. So we have to handle the customers. Crypto as an industry, as an asset class is fundamentally very complex, right? Right now, in terms of financial literacy, we a lot of people don't even know how to invest in stock market, or that's why a lot of people find very simple instruments like mutual funds. But in terms of financial literacy is already very low in the country, and crypto is complex, right? So we don't want people to lose money. We want investor protection. We want people, to make safe judgments so that they don't lose money in the process. So if we handhold them, if we, guide them properly, if we take them from a, ground zero to, a person who has invested or has taken exposure to crypto, I think it is our collective responsibility to guide those customers, right? And we, as industry player, it's something that we would want to do, right? Take them, take people from zero to and take them to a stage so that they can, they can catch the momentum and can continue learning on that. Because once you start, once you understand the crux of the technology, I think you will get awed by the beauty, right? And then people who understand it, what we can do is, once people start understanding about it, we'll see a lot of new opportunities for India in terms of investments. A lot of people India has a pool of startup entrepreneurs, right? So they would want to start something in the crypto space. If they start something in the crypto space, there will be lots of job opportunities that will be created, right? That will grow the industry. Government will, as Nishal mentioned, right, government would not want to kill the industry. There will be a lot of new investments that will come into the Indian crypto ecosystem. People would automatically start creating thousands of businesses in the country itself, which will again grow the industry. So again, it will have a cascading effect. So I think all of that starts with the education, and that's something that is very close to our heart. And I think that's one key component, because without education, if people are losing money, then the industry will not grow. If people are not making the right investments, then the industry will not grow. So I think it all starts with the right education. India is a very diverse country. It's not just about just writing things or writing blogs. I think like you'll need content, massive amount of content in different languages in different parts, so that people mass adoption can happen. So a lot of work needs to be done, in India in terms of education awareness. I think all of the industry participants needs to come together. Media has a big role to play. Whenever a good positive news comes up, it should go to the people equally as much as the bad news goes, right? So a lot of activities needs to be done together. You'll need to educate the regulators, you will need to educate the masses, and you will need to educate the industry participants. All of them have to come together. I think it's a combined effect of all of these things which will take the industry forward.
Thank you so much. Avinash, your last word before I bring in the question. Saurabh Baveja from Trust Legal wants to ask a question. There are other questions from Rekha Kumbhat. There are questions from Tulasi Rao Lanke. So before we bring them in, your last point.
So actually, I agree with both Nishal and Sumit here that I think the one thing which we need to do as an industry is education. I mean, what we believe in Zeppay is also like even for our customers, that knowledge, conviction, and then investment, basically. Because if the customer loses his money, if they don't know how to secure their crypto, it is going to be a big negative for the industry. Second thing is that education will also bring innovation, and I believe that in India there is a huge potential of innovation. As of now in the crypto space, there is so much things which are happening. Even like I am not able to keep up with. There are so many things which are happening in crypto space, and it's just the beginning. And I believe, I mean, I'm basically what I believe is that if we are able to explain what Bitcoin is, I mean, I don't believe someone will say that say that it's bad or it's something which should not be there, kind of.
But there is, because of the government's banning, there is a certain negativity associated, which has not fully gone. Let's accept that, because only then we can fix it. And dare I say, I'm an outsider, and I was an advisor to a very big leading Bitcoin company, and I resigned after much before the ban. I think 4.5 or 6 months before the ban, I resigned because there were things that made me uncomfortable. I asked some basic questions, right? So dare I say, a lot of entrepreneurs went into it headlong without understanding that this is a very regulated area. Financial services, financial domain is very regulated because the government doesn't want anybody who's a citizen, who's an investor, to lose money. So I think my 2 cents would be, you have 2 jobs. One, to convince the policymakers, and along with them come up with a framework that safeguards the interests. Second is, while you do that, to be able to do education around Bitcoins and cryptocurrency. And you should do this collectively together. So that's what I would say. I want to bring in Saurav's question. He specifically asked this question of Nishal Shetty, who's the WazirX founder. What is the procedure and estimate time for listing of tokens? And what is the approximate cost for the same?
So I think I saw this question in the previous panel as well. See, listing of tokens, and the whole discussion we had right now was about ensuring that investors don't lose money, protection. And the thing with tokens or crypto in general is that anyone, anywhere in the world can create crypto, just like anyone can create websites. So if I was to create a list of amazing websites in the world that are safe, I would say that's like the toughest job in the world, because you don't know when what website could do what. That's the same job we have as exchanges, to list the right kind of cryptocurrencies, and it's a really hard thing to do. So while some tokens we can list overnight because we see that the global population has adopted it, some tokens take us forever because we do not know what's behind this, who's the team member, what's the history of that. So it's a very subjective answer. It could take anywhere from a day to never. It's just how it is.
Thank you so much, Nishal, for being so honest. It could be one day or never. It seems like making your wife happy. You could make her in one day or never. I don't know if all of you are married once or more than once, but I've been married only once and I stay married. There's other question. Satish Durga is asking, will the entire stock market crash? If it happens, will it benefit the crypto? So will the money flow from one well to another well, from a filled well to a small well? That's what he says. And Rekha Kumbat is asking, apart from Bitcoin, which other cryptocurrencies like Ripple, Ethereum, Tron will have prominent growth in future?
Can I answer that first question? The part about, and this is a misconception where people think if crypto works, the other industries will fall. But I see crypto as being here to add value to existing financial systems. Just like the online world did not kill the offline businesses, I don't believe that having crypto succeed in a country means the demise of an existing financial system. It's going to, in fact, what it's going to do is, if our economy is worth $2.5 trillion, this can add maybe $500 billion in the next 5 to 10 years as an industry. So I see crypto as an enabler, and it's going to add to the wealth, not remove from it and eat into something. That's how I see this.
Thank you so much. Anybody, Sajay, Sumit, Avinash, if you want to add something. There's a question from Tulsi Rao Lanke. This question is for Nishchal and Avinash. My question is, if Indian government asks you to stop exchange withdrawal, means what you guys do, will you guys stop in withdrawal and send funds to their wallet, to customer wallet addresses, etc.? So if the stock exchanges are not allowed, will you directly send it? Recently, I have seen that one of the top exchange, OKEX, has stopped crypto withdrawal. Any idea what happened? Also, I want to know what is the assurance you can give to Indian customers that buying crypto and trading crypto is safe in India? I think that's the crux of the matter. See, I do so many conversations with entrepreneurs, business people, people who invest. I think that's the fundamental. How will you make sure that Indian investors feel that buying crypto and trading crypto is safe? So it's a question to Sumit and Nishchal. Let Sumit take it. Nishchal, Avinash, and Sarjai, all of you can take it.
Yeah, I think that is where the need for regulations comes in, right? Right now, it's important for us to understand that it's difficult for businesses to operate in an environment of uncertainty, right? And right now, because a lot of people have these questions that how can I be sure that my crypto is safe? What we need essentially here is a guideline from the government that okay, exchanges need to follow all of that, and if something bad happens to the investors' money, then how our exchange is going to compensate for that, right? So that there is no exchange that comes up and suddenly does something so then and people lose money. So that should not happen, right? And I think that is where once the government regulates the whole space, that is when the right protocols will come into picture. Exchanges will understand what they need to comply with in terms of AML, KYC, security. Exchanges will need to go through a proper process, right? Right now we are all trying to do it by a self-regulatory document, but if we have a guideline or a proper structure, I think that will give a lot of clarity. Just like, for example, people are saying, how can I be sure that buying crypto is safe, right? And there are millions of people who will have the same question. There will be a lot of people who will have the same questions. What if this happens? What if that happens? So I think once the industry gets some sort of guidelines, then the whole space will get more legitimate. There will be a layer of credibility that will get added to the space, and we will not see questions like this, right? So one thing is legitimacy is needed for the industry to grow, and as exchanges are getting more and more matured, all of these things are already in picture, right? For example, AML, KYC, all of these things are already in place. But what next, right? So we need to as the space gets more and more matured, we need to solve all of these problems one by one. And in terms of safety, there are lot of things that exchanges need to work on, right? And that essentially will happen when the space gets more regulated, when there is guidelines, so that exchanges know what exactly to do, right? What exactly we need to follow, what to do in if this happens, what to do if that happens. So yeah.
Okay, Sarjai, Nishchal, your comment, then we bring in Sarjai and Avinash and wrap this up.
Yeah, so I think all said and done, while we can do a lot of things, one thing that everyone should understand is crypto is definitely on a risk scale of 0 to 10. I would say it's on the 10 right now, just because it's so new, and it's very similar to how when you use a new product, something new that's launched.
Market risk. In the portfolio document, you say that these are the risks, and I like, Nishchal, you've been very honest about the realistic scenario, and all of you have been real about how the cryptocurrency ecosystem is in India. Go on.
Yeah, so I think that's the first thing that everyone should know, that it's a high risk market right now because it's early. And but as an industry, what we are doing is now what Sumit said, we are building a code of conduct, and all of us, WazirX, CoinDCX, Zeppay, all of us are part of it. And we are going to adhere to that as an industry so that our users' safety is taken into context. And also we can show this to the government as well, that we are already following something that they can probably adapt eventually. So that's the other thing that as an industry we're doing, following a common code of conduct. And I would say whoever is doing that, that's some level of safety for users, knowing that this exchange in India is following this code of conduct. So we are bringing that in to bring in the user safety aspects.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Sarjay,
Can I just add one thing?
Yes, Sarjay, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay. First of all, I would say that, you know,
you're very well mannered. You would never get an opportunity on Indian television to say anything if you waited for your permission. But go ahead.
No, but quickly, just to say that actually, okay, how risky is this? I would say that it's a little bit like at the beginning of the 20th century. How many car makers in the US? Do you know that? About 5,000. So we are the beginning here. We have 2,000 altcoins. Not everyone will become a General Motors or Ford, right? But I would say that you cannot compare Bitcoin or the number 250 or 350 token in the coin market cap. It's not exactly the same animal either, okay? So I would say that research and also checking what is the project behind this token, that's one thing I wanted to add. And one thing we have maybe not discussed, and we should maybe in another panel later, is that so what is it all about? It's not only speculation and value and so on. It's maybe also to help doing something, you know, doing something for the planet, doing something for industry, for whatever. I give you just one hint. What about construction and blockchain? You know, construction, building. This is a huge industry. There has been virtually no disruption in this industry, okay, over the last 50 years or whatever. Now it's a mess. I have been marginally involved in construction. Even in Switzerland, it's a mess. So in order to maybe like change completely the way of people are doing, putting everything on the blockchain, and using cryptocurrencies as a reward for good behavior, and so on. It's a new ecosystem, new things. We are just at the beginning. I agree on that. And we cannot even imagine how many side business and all other businesses directly or indirectly linked to it. It's huge, really huge, really. Yes. So sorry, just wanted to add that.
Avinash, you have the last word before we wrap it up.
So actually, I think on risk part, there are like different kind of risk. We have like regulatory risk, which is obviously there in India. You have price risk, and obviously we all know that there is a lot of volatility, although it's going down in crypto. And then obviously there is a risk as one question came with that, if government says that you hand over the crypto or to the government, will obviously whether we'll do it or not, kind of. Another risk is exchange getting hacked, and we have seen unfortunately we have not seen in our exchange, but we have seen all over the world that exchange gets hacked. Okay, so all these things, I think the knowledge and education becomes very, very important. There are certain risks which you can't do anything about it. I mean, regulation, you don't know what the government will do, but there are certain risks which you know that you are taking, price volatility, and there are certain risks which you can manage. For example, I mean, it's not, let's say, in favor of exchange. For example, in crypto, there is a saying that not your keys, not your coin. And as of now, most of the retail side, at least, people keep their coins or crypto with the exchanges. Okay, if they keep it not for a trading purpose, for a long-term purpose, they should and actually own their private keys. Okay, they should educate themselves how to manage their crypto, how to not lose their crypto. So at least some part of is that where they can mitigate the risk, so to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra. Here, before we wrap up, Businessworld and Trust Legal have done it. Trust Legal is doing a lot of cutting-edge work in new areas. There are a lot of gray areas, and possibly need a strategy and insights that can make it more robust as we move forward for all stakeholders. Mr. Mishra, your final word.
Thank you, Anurag, and thank you everybody who joined this panel. We tried something very ambitious, but I think the intensity of both the panels will tell that the founders panel as well as the legal panel, we had some very interesting conversation. I can only assure Nishal, Sumit, Serge, and Avinash that we will be there to assist you for anything which you want to do with the government. Because we are very good with the government. That's what we have been working with Businessworld, and that's the idea was to start a conversation, the round table kind of thing, which Gandhi started in this country almost 80 years back. We have done this for pharma. We have done
And
for
the
life.
only reason he got me to moderate the session is because I resemble Gandhi.
Yeah, you resemble Gandhi, and that could be the reason. But I think advocacy will be the answer to some of the problems of the industry, and advocacy with a very strong input of policy intervention. So thanks a lot, and Anurag, many thanks for asking me.
Sajai, today is a very auspicious day. We're discussing it on Ashtami. We have a 9-day fasting and a religious festival. When it's the season of festivals now, and it's a very auspicious to do anything. The home sales open after this. The auto sales open after it. Of course, liquor and non-veg sales also go up from Monday. It's a very auspicious day without bringing down the seriousness of what I am saying. So we've done this discussion on a day which is very auspicious. I hope it augurs well for the industry. And as you rightly said, Nishal, you all become big and contribute to the growth of the GDP. And once you start contributing, the government will become an enabler. So I think you have a bright future. We wish you luck. And thank you, Mr. Mishra and Trust Legal, for partnering with BW Businessworld on this important and new area. Though it's an old area for the last 6 years, but still lots of new things that come to the fore every day. And from a policy standpoint, clearly a lot of things need to be streamlined and made transparent. And policy consistency. We have to have a long-term policy on it. Of course, if there are changes in the environment, we need to respond to them, but we can't change. We can't be, as you know, there's still a bill pending, 2019 bill to ban cryptocurrency. Now, we don't know the fate of that bill. It's like a sword of Damocles that is hanging on our head. So clearly we need clarity, and my suggestion would be that bill needs to go away, and we need to bring in legislation which enables the sector with all checks and balances.
Yes.
But enables rather than disables. So that's what I would say. And that's where India will grow. I mean, blockchain as a concept has so much potential applied to manufacturing, applied to every sector, both external stakeholders and internal stakeholders, that it can bring efficiencies that we cannot imagine. So we leave it at that. Good evening. All the best.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, whatever is left of it. And hopefully the crypto world will grow. And so will the number of investors in this ecosystem. So thank you, Sajai. Thank you, Nishal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Anurag.
Thanks, Dr. Anurag.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm on anurag.batra@businessworld.in. Anurag.batra@capital. Okay. And we will launch a full-fledged community around this. So editorial community, like we have for like a specialized product for this editorial, bringing policymakers there. So anyway, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Hi, Sajay.
Bye.